Hey everyone. Alright, so in this video I want to talk about the Highlander remake. Now of course this is something that's been in the works for quite some time. And you know, there's always that thing of, you know, is it really going to get off the ground? Is it really going to ever get out of the pre-production stages, or is it all just going to fall through on itself? But it actually looks as though this remake is going to go somewhere. So with that in mind, I thought it might be appropriate to share my thoughts on it. Because initially, I was very much against it. I was completely opposed to it. I was thinking, this is going to be a disaster, you know, leave it alone. The original's a classic. We don't need a remake. Just re-release the original. That was my initial thought. But as time has moved on, I've actually warmed to the idea of there being a remake. I am now actually really looking forward to it. I've got high hopes because I am a fan of the original movie, and of course do own it on Blu-ray. And also I'm a big fan of The Final Dimension, and I also own that on Blu-ray. So I own both the first movie and the third movie on Blu-ray. And these are the only Highlander movies that I own, because after these two, all the other Highlander movies, The Quickening, Endgame and The Source, I think are completely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Yeah. I've seen enough and heard enough to know how bad those movies really are. I actually had the pleasure of catching Endgame on BBC One a couple of weeks ago. That was fun. But yeah, I love the original Highlander, and I love Highlander The Final Dimension. Highlander The Final Dimension, this one is actually my favourite Highlander movie. I genuinely love this movie. But of course, the original is a classic. I would say objectively that the original is the better movie, but there's just something about The Final Dimension that I really love. But yeah, that is my stance on the original movies. You know, 1 and 3 I really like. 2, 4 and 5, absolutely no way. No way. So this formed the basis of my thinking in relation to this remake. The original's a classic, the third one's really good, but 2, 4 and 5 are dreadful. They destroyed the Highlander franchise. It is impossible to overstate the damage they did to the series. And of course there was the TV show, but honestly I couldn't care less about the TV show. I just have no interest. I remember I was browsing through the various channels on Sky a long time ago now, and I actually saw Highlander, and I thought, Highlander, awesome, let's put that on, put it on. It turned out to be the TV show, and watched it not even for 5 minutes, but instantly I was thinking, absolutely not, no chance whatsoever. I hate Duncan MacLeod. Just has completely no appeal as far as I'm concerned. Connor MacLeod is the chosen one. Christophe Lambert is the Highlander. We don't need a replacement. I don't know who the hell's idea it was to replace Connor MacLeod with Duncan as the chosen one. Absolutely terrible idea. And one of the reasons I really hate Highlander Endgame, you do not kill Connor MacLeod. You do not do that. He's the chosen one. He is the one. He is the one who wins the prize. You do not kill Connor MacLeod. He kills you. Yeah, he wins, you lose. That's how it goes, alright? So, Adrian Paul, Duncan MacLeod, the TV show, you know, all of that, just don't like it at all. Not one bit. As far as I'm concerned, my Highlander universe only consists of those two films, the original and the Final Dimension. Now, this is where I'm going with this, is that remaking Highlander is a really good idea, because this time they can do it and get it right. You know what I mean? This time they can remake the original and, you know, without all the mistakes that subsequently followed. We can have a Highlander movie that finally gets it right. But my one condition, there must be only one. You know, we must just only have one Highlander movie. Because of course the plot of the original Highlander movie, you know, it's the gathering, it's the end for the immortals, it's the end of the line. Like Castigear says to Connor, time's finally caught us, my friend. You know, it's the end. It's the culmination. You can't have a sequel after that. So, if they remake it, they must only do one movie. And, you know, the second aspect of why they should remake it is it's a way of redeeming the franchise. Because we had a classic first movie, Highlander 2 came along and completely tarnished the legacy of the original movie. Then Highlander 3 came along, repaired it. Then Highlander Endgame came along and ruined it again. And Highlander 5, Highlander the Source, came along and just made it even worse, if that was possible. So basically the Highlander franchise is completely destroyed at this point. So this will be a good way to redeem the franchise. Basically the analogy I can say is we had a really solid movie in the first one. Then Highlander 2 came along and effectively shot it in the chest. Then Highlander 3 came along and basically put a plaster over the wound. Highlander Endgame came along and started picking at the plaster and wearing it away. So it was, you know, the plaster was, you know, one of the corners had come loose. And then the Source came along, just flat out ripped the plaster off. So yeah, Highlander's dead at the minute, thanks to the efforts of films 2, 4 and 5. So yeah, this remake could save it. It could resurrect it. It could restore the Highlander name. Basically, I've drawn a comparison with the remake of Highlander and Star Wars Episode 7, because they both have the same. They both suffered from the same disease, I guess you could say. Like, you've got the original Star Wars trilogy, and let's compare. Comparatively speaking, you've got Highlander and Highlander the Final Dimension. Those two films are the Highlander equivalent to the original Star Wars trilogy. Then obviously you've got the Star Wars prequels, and also you've got Highlander 2, Highlander Endgame and Highlander the Source. They are effectively Highlander's answer to the Star Wars prequels. Now, we're in much the same position with the Highlander remake as we are with Star Wars Episode 7, and that is that both movies could redeem and, you know, restore the respective name of each franchise. So Star Wars Episode 7, it's redeemed the Star Wars franchise. Finally, we've got a good Star Wars movie again. Same thing with Highlander. Finally, we've got a good Highlander movie again. And both of these movies have the potential, if done right, to be better. You know, just as good as, if not better than the originals. You know, Star Wars Episode 7. It could potentially be better than Empire Strikes Back. The remake of Highlander. It could potentially be better than the original. So we're at an interesting point, you know, where all we can do is wait and see what happens and hope for the best. Now, I have got I want to talk more about the remake of Highlander, not just the reasons why I think it's a good idea, but I'd like to make that clear. I've gone from hating the idea to loving the idea now. But I've looked into it, and of course the guy directing it, the guy in charge, he is very much a fan of the original movie. He's a fan of the original source material. So that gives me really high hopes that the director's a fan of the original. He's wanting, so that's reassured me. It really has. And by the sounds of it, they're going to stick quite close to the story of the original film. So again, that'll be good. There's certain things I would like them, because of course that's a precondition that they keep they just have one movie. But also there are certain other preconditions or precursors that I have, and that is they must use Queen's music again. They must do that. Princes of the Universe, because it's a kind of magic. 1 Year of Love, Who Wants to Live Forever. They must use those songs and any other Queen song that features in the movie, because it's so iconic. And also the Highlander score that Mike Kamen did, they must, well, at least they must base the music score around that. It must be, you know, if they want to redo it but keep the orchestrations the same, yeah, but the music must be kept the same, because it's so iconic, and so, you know, it's, fans will be expecting that. And of course, why mess with a good thing? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Queen is still popular now. That's one of the things now. When you listen to a lot of the radio, it is amazing how much stuff from the 80s and 90s is still given airtime on the radio, and that speaks for itself. Just goes to show how great that stuff really is. So there is no reason why they should not use Queen's music again. Another one of my precursors is that they must keep the look of Connor MacLeod the same, in that, you know, he must still wear the trench coat and he must still wear the white tennis shoes, because those things are so essential. They basically are that character's trademark. The trench coat and white sneakers, they must keep that the same. And finally, the swords of the movie, they must keep the swords the same. You know, Ramirez's dragon-headed katana, they must keep that the same, because that sword is such an awesome sword. It's such an iconic sword. They must not change that. They must keep the design of that sword the same. Again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'm expecting that since the director is such a fan of the original movie, he'll be thinking these things too. Also, Connor's broadsword that he uses before he gets the Ramirez katana, that sword is again so iconic, you know, with the MacLeod name engraved onto the crossguard. I mean, look. It's even on the cover of the Blu-ray. They must keep this the same. And also the Kurgan's sword. Now that sword is so badass, you know, with the guard of it. They must also keep that the same. Those three swords, the designs must be kept the same. Those are my precursors, basically. The things that I'm wanting to see. Also, it must be R-rated, of course. I know I've harped on about this time and again, but PG-13 does not belong in a Highlander movie. You know, the amount of PG-13 remakes we get, like RoboCop, you know, it doesn't work. You can't do a PG-13 remake of an R-rated film. It doesn't work. Alright, so that's another important consideration. That the film must be R-rated. But aside from that, you know, I'm really looking forward to see where they take this. I was thinking just earlier, it'd be good if they kept it set in 1986. That'd be awesome. Or 85. I think, yeah, they say 85 in the movie, don't they? 85. It'd be awesome if they did that. If they kept it set in 1985, that would be very good. It'd just be interesting to see, you know, the production designers and see what the costume design's like. You know, it'd be really good. But again, it's still working modern day, you know. So whichever idea they go with, it'd still be fine. Of course, it looks as though everyone involved is going to be really, you know, it gives me high hopes because obviously the director being a fan of the original, also the writers involved who did the original Iron Man movie, you know. So it sounds as though we've got some good people involved. And also, let's talk about casting before we bring this to an end. It looks as though Batista's going to be playing the Kurgan. Now, I am quite pleased with that, actually. I think Batista would be a very good choice. Yeah, of course I do like Batista. I am a wrestling fan, so of course I know him from that. And it looks as though he's becoming quite an established name in terms of films. Of course, he was in Riddick, the third Riddick movie, obviously Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's going to be in the next Bond movie, Spectre. I think the idea might be that when he's finished Spectre, he'll be getting ready to start on this. So that'll be really good. I am really happy with him playing the Kurgan. Yeah, but of course, Connor McLeod, the man himself, who's going to play Connor? Obviously, it was originally going to be Ryan Reynolds, but he's subsequently walked away. But that's alright though, because we're going to get to see him play Deadpool, so that's going to be great. I have to confess, I would rather see him play Deadpool than see him play Connor McLeod. Of course, it's been quite heavily debated. If you look at the discussion boards on Internet Movie Database, for example, it's been quite hotly debated who should play Connor McLeod. And my 2 cents, I would love to see Ewan McGregor play Connor McLeod. He is Scottish. He is Scottish. So he fits the bill in that respect. But also, look at the Star Wars movies. Obviously, for my money, he and Sam Jackson, they're my favourite things about the prequels. I have recently, sorry to go off on a tangent, but Star Wars prequels, I used to be an apologist for the Star Wars prequels. I used to say, oh, but they're still good. I've actually come to the realisation they're not good. The rose tinted glasses, they're not there anymore. Yeah, the delusion, you know, under which the delusion that's been cast over so many people that the Star Wars prequels were good, it's finally wore off for me. I've seen the light, so yeah, I understand now. But yeah, Ewan McGregor playing Obi-Wan, we know from that he's a great swordsman, so he'd be able to handle all the physical stuff. So yeah, I want Ewan McGregor to play Connor. So Ewan McGregor to play Connor. Really psyched to see Batista play the Kurgan. Now we come to Ramirez. Of course, we heard reports late last year that they wanted Tom Cruise to play Ramirez. Now I would actually be happy with that. I would love to see Tom Cruise play Ramirez. Yeah, I would be happy with that. But my own personal choice, if aside from that, I was thinking maybe either Liam Neeson or Pierce Brosnan to play Ramirez. Yeah, the, that'd be either Liam Neeson or Pierce Brosnan for me to play Ramirez, or Tom Cruise. Either of those three guys, yeah, I'd be happy with. So my choices: Batista to play the Kurgan, Ewan McGregor to play Connor, and Pierce Brosnan to play Ramirez. That'd be my ideal casting. Who would play? I'm assuming Brenda Wyatt would still be in the movie. If I again, it's not something I've gave any particular thought to. Who play that part? I'm not sure. I really am not sure. If I had to pluck a name out of thin air, it wouldn't be based on much, but maybe Anne Hathaway could play the part, or personal favourite of mine, Rose Byrne, because I love Rose Byrne. I'd love to see maybe her play the part. So, but I'm not sure. Brenda Wyatt, put a question mark next to that one. But certainly for the main three, Ewan McGregor as Connor, Dave Bautista as the Kurgan, and Pierce Brosnan as Ramirez. So that wraps it up for my thoughts on the remake. Gone from hating the idea to loving the idea. I so cannot wait. I imagine there'll be, because obviously it looks as though it is getting off the ground, so maybe 2016, 2017, that's when we'll probably be getting it. So it'll just be a case of watch this space. I cannot wait, and hopefully we'll be getting some more news on the project sooner rather than later, because I really am psyched for this now. And hopefully when it comes out, they'll do that thing that they've been doing more. They're doing it more and more often, certainly at the Cineworld cinemas, where they do the double bills, so hopefully we could get like a double bill when the remake is released of the original Highlander and the remake back to back. I would certainly go and see that. I would love them to do that, and hopefully they will. So yeah, can't wait for the remake. And that pretty much brings this video to a close. Thank you for watching, thank you for taking the time to watch, and thanks for listening with me. And of course, please feel free to share your thoughts on a possible remake. And yeah, hopefully it won't be too long till we finally get some news on it. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you.